And we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about the Lions and the Buccaneers. This is a big matchup between these two teams, of course. Both teams coming in first place in their respective divisions. And I'm really looking forward to this matchup. I like Dan Campbell as a head coach. I mean, the press conference, I got a kick out of that when he was talking about, although it was insane at the time, obviously he was talking about, biting off the kneecaps of his opponents and, getting up and smiling at them and then taking off another kneecap. I mean, it was just, the press conference was just insane. But, listen, I think he's done a great job. He's turned this team around. It was rough the first year. The second year it wasn't going so well, and he thought at one point he was going to get fired. But yeah, to give him credit, the Lions turned it around, and although they didn't make the playoffs last year, they still finished with the winning record, and yeah, now they're in first place, and I think they're gonna make some noise in the playoffs. They are. Right now they're the third best team in the NFC. I think they're still a notch below the Eagles and the 49ers, but listen, I think that they are. I still think they are a very good team. The defense is improving. They have a good running game. Jared Goff is playing at an MVP type level. They got good receivers. The tight end Sam Laporta, who I really haven't mentioned. He's playing well. So, I really like this team a lot. It's really coming together. And then on the Buccaneers side of things, I know I talked about Baker Mayfield previously, and I'm a fan of his, and I want to see him succeed. And so far, he's doing that. The Bucs are playing really well this season. The one loss is against the Eagles, where they didn't really play particularly well. But I thought getting a huge win on the road against the Saints was, that was a statement win right there. Although the Saints really haven't been playing well themselves offensively, but right now the Bucs, they're kind of they're looking like right now the favorites to win the division at this point. I think right now they're in first place. They could all change, but I look at them as being a team. I think they're better than the Falcons, and right now I think they're better than the Saints based off of what they did in New Orleans a couple weeks ago. And I looked at their schedule. They got a soft schedule. They got a lot of wins, winnable games on that schedule. So I think they could at least go like 9-8, 10-7 probably gets you the division. This is a team last year, the Bucs, they finished 8-9. But obviously they're going to have to keep up with the Lions offense, which scores a lot of points. The Lions defense is actually good against the run. We'll actually go through the stats right now. Looking at the stats for both of these teams. So on offense, the Lions are 11th in passing yards per game. Bucs are 18th. The Lions are a very good rushing team. They're top 10. They're 7th. They're averaging 141 yards, rushing yards per game. The Bucs, they're not very good with running the football. They're 25th. They are averaging 87 yards, rushing yards per game. And then points, this is a big difference. The Lions are averaging 29.6, which is 4th in the NFL. And the Bucs are only averaging 21. Then on defense, they're both around the same when it comes to passing yards. The Bucs are 18th. The Lions are 19th. Rushing yards is a big difference. They're both top 10. The Lions, they allow an average of 68.4 rushing yards per game, and the Bucs allow 94.8. So both top 10 against the run, but the Lions are definitely better when it comes to stopping the run. And then points allowed, Bucs, their defense is giving up an average of 17 points per game. Lions are giving up 21. So, the Bucs defense has been good this year. And, I think that, they could definitely give the Lions offense some problems in this game, which I think could allow this game to be close. I do think that. But the Lions are dealing with some injuries as well. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is questionable. Sam Laporta is also questionable. So if Laporta doesn't play, that's a big loss for them. AmonRaSt.Brown, I think, is going to make his return this week, so that's big. Their leading receiver. Listen, David Montgomery's been running the football very well for them. So, even if Gibbs misses this week, I'm not really that concerned there because, David Montgomery, I think he's scored a touchdown in every single game this year that he's played for the Lions. He's been great for them so far. He's been a great replacement for Jamal Williams. On the Bucs side of things, Mike Evans is questionable with the hamstring. He did return to practice. So, I think a lot of what happens in this game, I think it's also going to depend on his health. Although, listen, the Bucs, they won without Mike Evans, for most of that game against the Saints. So now they're at home. So we'll have to see. Right now, the spread is +3. And I'm going to take the Bucs with that number at home, getting 3. I like them with the points. Although, listen, they're going to have to keep up with that high-scoring offense. They just are. So, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But, looking at both of these teams, listen, I don't think many people thought this game's actually got flexed into the 4:25 Eastern Time slot. This is now America's Game of the Week. It wasn't going to be that previously, but now it is. And listen, not many people, not really anybody, thought that this was going to be America's Game of the Week. Because a lot of people thought the Bucs were going to be the worst team in football. So, but that's not the case now. They're playing well. They are. And and a big part of that is because of how Baker Mayfield is playing. And I just hope he continues to do that. I want to see him succeed, and I want him hopefully this is his new home because I talked about it yesterday. He's bounced around a lot. The Browns get rid of him for Deshaun Watson. Then he goes to the Panthers. They get rid of him. And then he goes to the Rams. He's there for a little bit. Has to learn the playbook on the fly. And then the Bucs are like, hey, we'll give you a chance. And then you got all those videos coming out on Twitter of him and Kyle Trask throwing passes, and they're just not good. They're missing receivers. And you're like, oh, man, the Bucs are going to be bad this year. But, they get that big win on the road against the Vikings. They win against the Bears at home. They lose against the Eagles at home, which, kind of expected. But I thought their biggest win, of course, was against the Saints on the road. Because I really didn't think they were going to win that. And Baker played well. He threw 3 touchdowns in that game. And Mike Evans was hurt. And now this is a big game. Because, if the Bucs win this game, I look at this team... the conference isn't that strong. You look at the AFC, it's a stronger conference, of course. But, I look at the Bucs. If they beat the Lions here in a good game, I think they're, they got to be, top 5 in the NFC. I think they are right now, just because of how weak the conference is. But, this definitely puts more respect to them as a team. If they're able to pick up this win. If the Lions just absolutely dismantle them, then that's, they're going to take a huge hit there. But, I think at home, I think they can win this game. I think they can. Because, listen, the 49ers are in a tier of their own. The Eagles, are below them slightly. But I look at the Eagles as an elite team, even though they have some question marks on defense right now. But, I still think they are still a very good team. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it when talking about, this topic. Obviously, I'm looking forward to this is probably the best game of the weekend. Other than the Chargers and the Cowboys, which, I'll talk about that on Monday. Because, I figure preview that on Monday when we do that. Because, the Sunday night game, Giants, Bills, yeah, not good. Not good. And listen, I'm going to get my wish. Doesn't look like Daniel Jones is playing in that game. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show in the final segment. But I mean, yeesh, it's I'm not really looking forward to this Sunday night game. Let me tell you, it really is going to be it's not going to be good. It's going to be a disaster. It really is. But we'll get into it when we get into the third part of the show. So we're going to take our second break of the show, and then when we come back, we are going to discuss the early window games for Sunday, and I'll give my thoughts on that. I'll give out my picks, and yeah, so that'll be the third part of the show when we get back from break. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.